So, here we are, 8 years later.
We're here 8 years later, man. And I was trying to just post here for my 208 fans on Instagram to, let people know what's up.
Yeah, what's up?
Dude, a lot's up, man. A lot has hit the fan over the last, 8 years.
Is this a podcast where we can swear?
You can say whatever you want. I can't. So.
Welcome to Christian Skeptic, where we question everything. Whatever you are confident in, whatever you think you believe, just give us an hour and we will make you re-examine your entire existence.
Give us an hour.
Exactly. What does it even mean to be a Christian skeptic? I feel like Piper's got Christian hedonism and we can have Christian skepticism.
Christian hedonism, according to the Desiring God, that coined the phrase, is the conviction that God's ultimate goal in the world, which is his glory, and our deepest desire to be happy are one and the same, because God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. Christian skepticism is a worldview that questions all doctrines, confessions, lifestyles, and practices, regardless of popularity or cultural religious acceptance, in an effort to separate absolute truth from mere opinion, bias, or propaganda, using the Bible. That's what makes it Christian skepticism, using the Bible as the highest authority in determining these absolutes. We believe that God is not honored through falsehood, ungrounded religious dogmatism, or preferential conclusion masquerading as cosmic certainty, but is instead honored when truth is discovered, taught, and lived in light of.
Yeah, so Christian skepticism ultimately leads to joy. So Piper would be on our side.
We actually found Christian skepticism is the key to Christian hedonism.
Exactly.
We just wrote the prequel to all his books. You're welcome, Johnny. You're welcome.
At its heart, skepticism is not about doubting at all. It's about truth. It's a concern for truth. It's a search for truth. So the key then is there's no way to be a Christian skeptic without biblical literacy.
Everyone out there is fill in the blank. If it's not the Bible, what are you basing the determining factor of how you separate fact from fiction? What is that? Is it science? Is it reason? Is it philosophy? Whatever it is, there's something that you've set up. It can't just be yourself. And if it is, that's a really scary place to be. When it comes to Christianity, I think one of the things that's been lost in the face of bias, which we've admitted on the show we have ourselves, is to try to, as best as we are able, to be self-aware and to check our bias at the door and to allow Scripture in its original context to speak for itself. Christian skepticism requires that we are extremely proactively, intentionally thoughtful about everything that is infiltrating our lives constantly.
Our whole concept of this show, it's kind of like, what now? I mean, mid-40s, been doing the whole church thing for a long time. Yeah. And what actually matters and what doesn't matter? There's been a big shift in our lives in the last year. And so those are the questions that are coming up.
Do you think potentially this whole concept of radicalized grace, which we'll get into, might free us to just do the best we can with the information we have? People are just making crap up sometimes based on their own bias. And I'm doing the same thing. That's what I mean. I'm awake enough to admit it.
That's the thing, because the Bible is not specific. I mean, even Jesus narrowed it down to all the law and the prophets. Everything can be summed up in love God, all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And that leaves, could it be more vague? Honestly, There's so much room for interpretation there. It's odd to think about why then the church has proceeded for the last several thousand years to make of utmost importance and divide over all the specific things that are not even mentioned in that statement.
Actually, I'm really glad you brought that up, because what if Jesus was meaning to leave it vague on purpose? Which it seems like he was, or else he would have qualified it. If you take a Rembrandt, take a Rembrandt painting, let's say Jesus on the Sea of Galilee and Storm on the Sea of Galilee, and then all of a sudden you allow your children to start adding their crayons to it and coloring it up, and then whenever your friends come over, they can sign their signature to it. In the end, what you have is you no longer have a Rembrandt anymore. You have a convolution and a corruption, really, of what was Rembrandt. And I just believe that's what's happened to Christianity by and large in America.
I felt like I was playing this dual role. I was skeptical, but I didn't have enough courage just to come right out, just to be like, you know what, I don't believe any of this crap. It's interesting that earlier in my life, pain and suffering drove me to question and doubt. And it's not that I don't question and doubt anymore, but I find more hope now in the pain and suffering, because I feel like without that, there would be no way to get through it.
Christians are so unconvinced of what they believe is the truth and they stick their whole lives upon that they're afraid to pick at it at all for fear of it and completely unraveling. Deconstruction is like a good idea. It's like taking the Rembrandt painting that we began with today and cleaning it somehow and getting all the refuse off of it so it's a Rembrandt painting again. Grace is all we have. Everything else is smoke, and grace is the only substance. We think of grace as like this covering, and it is, but grace is also the fuel. Grace is our identity. Any good that comes out of us is grace. Like all of that is God's grace. So if somebody just comes along and goes, you should do this, 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 and this, and they're all the law of God, sure, that's good because it's from God, but that's not what's going to make me actually obey it. That's just a standard that's there. The only way I can actually like obey it or follow it is by God's grace working in my life and yours and anyone else's.
Dude, that's the show.